We are recording. Okay, so this call we are focusing on finding our niche. So let me pull up the presentation. Oh boy,
It's in the new one.
okay. Okay. Okay, now we're cooking. Here we go, guys. Bear with us here. Okie dokie. So the whole goal is to find your tribe. Now, this is this does not happen overnight. This is going to take some trial and error. What is so funny?
You guys, I'm so sorry. We're on the struggle bus this morning. Hang with us.
Okay, so finding your tribe is something that is going to take some time, so be patient. But if you are talking to everyone, then you are talking to no one. Oh my gosh, Amber, get it together.
You guys, I got the giggles.
So I think in the beginning when Amber and I started, we were like, we will, like we said last week, we'll take anyone with a pulse. But that's not really ideal because you want to find people that you could be friends with and that you could potentially be doing this coaching thing with for a while, or else it just won't work out. So in your guys's like bios, this is what that's right, right? So in your guys's bios, when you create them, and again, this is going to take trial and error. They're not going to be perfect the first couple times. I'm still working on mine. But in your bio, you want to be clear and not elusive. You don't want to be mysterious. You want to be straight to the point.
And also in your posts and stories. That kind of goes with everything.
Be specific with your mission. So what is it exactly that you are going to help people with? When they come to their when they come to your page, when they think of you, what is that one thing they're going to think of when they pop onto your page
that you can help them with?
That you can help them with? Who are you trying to serve? Like, for example, are you a teacher who's trying to serve other teachers? Are you a mom? Are you someone with PCOS and you're trying to help educate people on that? Are you a former gym rat? Things like that. Find out what makes you you, and just weave that into your stories and into your posts when you're on social media. Hold on, guys.
Can you guys hear us? There we go. Okay. We were like, Amber, a minute. We're like, are we muted? Okay.
Okay.
So one of the things that's really going to help you like attract people or get more eyes on your things is figuring out what your story is. What's unique about you? These are some things like listed below that you're going to want to list out like on excuse me, on paper. Like sit down with a pen and paper and like actually think about who you are, what stands out, what makes you unique. What are some of the things that you've struggled with most of your life? And we kind of talked about that last week, and like telling a story, how to tell a story, who I was, what I found, and who I am. So you kind of incorporate that like when you're writing your posts out and sharing on Instagram. People want to relate to who you were.
Because that might be where they are right now.
Right. And they also want to see what it's done for you, and they want to see who you are now as a person. So it takes some actually sitting down and thinking about, because I mean, and maybe you're just a really natural good storyteller and then it's not really that hard, but you really just have to dig deep and do some soul searching and really take time, because when you figure out your story, that's when you can be clear on it, and that's when other people you're gonna attract your tribe.
Mm-hmm. I think this is where personal development comes into. It kind of helps you find the words to craft your story because you like listen to other people share their stories. Okay. Oh, this is kind of what you just talked about.
Yeah, this is just kind of some examples of like what to specifically think of.
Think about like what you used to struggle with, what you still struggle with, but like how you are maybe combating that and finding a solution quicker than you would in the past. Like you recognize what's happening, you recognize these habits, and then talk about your solution. Yeah, these are just examples.
That was a good one. The more that your followers know your story, the more they trust you and can relate to you, the more they're gonna want to come to you for the sale. You really also, this will help you get like quality followers, quality challengers, and I don't know, people buy a story, that they buy your story, they don't really buy your product. You don't sell a product, you sell your story.
So in the beginning, when you are initially talking to people, obviously we have something that like is for your mindset, it's for your body, it's like, you know, physically it's going to help you, nutritionally it's going to help you, and mentally it's going to help you. And we know the value of it, but people don't necessarily see the value of all of this right in the beginning. So sometimes you have to show the people what they want, and then when they connect with you and then they're in a challenge group, then that's when you spend the time showing them what they need, which could be like a mindset switch, you know, or changing the way they eat their or nutrition or whatever it is. So initially, I think people are drawn to the transformation. Oh, I have been meaning to lose 15 pounds. I really need to lose that baby weight. They don't want to know about all the mindset stuff. They're just like, quick, help me lose this baby weight. So that is the solution that you can provide to them. And then once you get them in your challenge group, that's when you spend a little bit more time diving into personal development and sharing things that have helped you along the way. Take the time to engage with your followers, really find out what their pain points are. And pain points are literally why people are telling you no. So when you invite someone to a challenge group and they're like, no, I can't, don't just leave it at no. You just be like, oh, I'm just curious, you know, are you already doing a fitness program, or are you already doing something? And they'll usually follow up with, I just can't right now. It's either money, it's time, or they're just maybe not ready for it. Or maybe I'm trying to think of what are some other objections.
Money, time, I don't ever work out, or that's like not really my thing, or I don't know, I can't think of. But pain points are also what people are struggling with. So like if you're like, a pain point would be being miserable at your job and really wanting to find a different one, you know, like that's a pain point. Find some, like, hear what your audience is talking about and struggling with. And when, you know, you provide a solution to maybe something that they're struggling with, you want to use their language, use those words that you've heard them using, so that kind of triggers them. It's like, oh my gosh, you're in my head. Like, how did you know I was struggling with that? How did you know I needed that? You know? and you find out like what your audience wants to see, like in your stories or on your posts, in your Instagram posts, by seeing which posts do well, first of all, which is usually always transformation, or posts when you get like really vulnerable and share your story. But you can do that and engage with polls in your story. Like, I know Kevin's been doing a lot of polls and swipes lately. That's awesome. But you could be like, hey, if I were to share my grocery haul this week, would that be helpful for you guys? And just put a poll, yes or no, you know? And then if you get 75 no's, then I guess people really don't care about your grocery haul. So you can find out like what your people want to see. Just ask them. They'll tell you. They love to give their opinion.
Mhm. And occasionally, I know like Kelsey and Dean do this. They'll just set up a series of questions and be like, okay, guys, I really want to focus on like serving you guys better. And, I want to ask you what you guys really want to see on my stories. Do you want nutrition? Do you want to see what I eat throughout the day? And they'll put a poll. The next slide will be, do you want to see how I, like,
Do you want to see this or this? Do you want to
some
see
house
this or
hacks
this?
or my workouts or, how I run my business? And they'll just put the polls on each slide. So something simple as that. You can do it every once in a while. I know I've done that a couple times, and it was really interesting to get the feedback of what they actually wanted to see. Because what I thought they wanted to see, those polls were not what I thought they would be. So it's good to just ask them. You're not asking them for anything except their opinion.
And they love to give it.
Yep.
So one of the things about posting are a few tips to take with you. And I just want to say too, I was so proud of you guys for leaving that call last week and like immediately taking action. Like that's what you have to do in this business. Is we can't just be like information suckers and like watch all the trainings and listen to all the calls and do all the things, but then when you leave the call, like you don't actually do anything. So I was really proud to see you girls' posts. And speaking of posting, one thing that is going to help you is, like we talked about last week, have a clear, bright picture of you. And you also want to be posting at least 2 to 3 times a week, more if you can. Like, I mean, Instagram goes through like phases and like has different algorithms, and it kind of seems like it's going back to how it used to be slowly. People used to post like 2 or 3 times a day. It was like crazy. I'm like, that's not maintainable. But getting a post out every single day really gets your face into people's feeds. They see you more, you become more familiar to them, they start liking your stuff more, and then they learn your story. But you got to get into their feed, because if you're not posting in your stories very often, or if you haven't really engaged with that person, even if you have been posting in your stories, they don't go, like if on your Instagram, you have like all the people that show up on your stories. Well, the people who you engage with show up first. So if you haven't engaged with them, you haven't been posting, and they haven't been seeing your stuff, you're at the back of the line, buddy. And you're not even getting eyes on your stories. So when you're posting at least 2 to 3 times a week, people start engaging with your posts more. And then if they comment, you want to always comment back on every single one. Sometimes I'll get like, cool transformation, send me your pictures and we can do a collab or whatever. And I'm like, thank you so much.
Even though it's like a bot.
Yeah, I hate it, but you have to respond to everybody, because Instagram sees that as it's a social media. They want people to be social on it. So that's what we got to do. We got to be social. And you want to include like a variety, so that when somebody, your Instagram is like your storefront. And when people come to see it, they see like the first, I don't know, if you were to pull up somebody on Instagram, I think you see the first, like, so here's mine. Oh, you guys probably can't see. But if you open up your Instagram, you only see the first few posts, and then you scroll, and people aren't going to scroll very far. They're going to look and see if they see what they like, like what they see, and then they're out of there. So you want to make sure that your grid has a variety of a lot of things. Like I've got a recipe, I've got a picture of myself and my husband, I've got like a hair tutorial type thing, I've got like a transformation picture, I have like one with friends. Like there's different variety of pictures, so that when somebody comes to your page, they kind of get a peek into your life. They can kind of see, okay, she's married, okay, there's a recipe on here, maybe she gives some good content. Like if there's not anything that's going to grab them, they're not going to follow you, and you want to get more followers.
Don't be a beach body robot.
Yeah, don't be a Beachbody robot and like post a picture of you with your Shakeology bag or you with your tub of Energize or, you know, or just a picture of those things.
Yeah,
Like,
don't do that.
you want to be in the picture with your shake, drinking it, and then you could like write a post about, I don't know, whatever. But like, we don't just want to be all your pictures be working out, and because that's not relatable. When I go to people's pages and all it is working out, I'm like, I work out because I have to, not because I want to. So your page does nothing for me. So like, make sure you're including variety and do include your lifestyle and fitness and how your healthy habits of whatever, like include a recipe, include this, but include life.
One thing that I heard that was helpful was kind of like developing your brand, your style, is finding like 4 or 5 things that define you.
Like your pieces of the pie.
Your pieces, you have a circle and it's like a pie chart, and you want to figure out what pieces are for you. So for like me, mine would be a twin, health and fitness, I'm married, I think humor, and then grandpa. Those are kind of my 5 things that I share frequently about. So just find like those 5 things and write them down somewhere on a sticky note, and then that can be kind of what your posts are about. Just like cycle through those 4 or 5 things. Growing your network daily. That's a really important thing when you're, it's just really important to build your network. So adding people, following people, because when you go to send invites, when you start running and you are sending out a lot of invites each week, you're going to start to run out of people to invite. So you always need to be adding to your network and following people. You can find them through hashtags. Like I look up like the DIY hashtag when The Bachelor was going on. Amber would look up the Bachelor hashtag, find people that way. Whatever you love, look up that hashtag and find people, because most likely they're going to, have something in common with you if, they're watching the same show or they're doing the same activity. So grow your network always, at least like, every day I'll like look up a hashtag and like follow like 5 to 10 people, and then go on their page and like a couple pictures and show that you're like actually interested in them.
So one thing when that people can get hung up on, and they have a fear of like posting or communicating or whatever, is because you're trying, not you, but like people are trying to be interesting. And really, we need to be more interested. We need to be interested in what our followers are doing. We need to be interested in their lives and in their families and in the things that they're sharing about. We need to be interested. I think so many times people get hung up on trying to create really, really good content and just like pump it out. But in the meantime, you haven't connected with anybody. You haven't been looking into other people that are following you and their story and connecting with them. Building those relationships and being interested in them is going to build trust a heck of a lot faster than providing content that they may or may not see.
Get to know your followers, be friends with them, compliment them, ask them where they got a sweater from, or just get to know them somehow. In their commenting on their photos or whatever, because that's how you're going to establish. Like I just talked to a girl yesterday. She had a really cute sweater. I'm like, that is adorable. Where did you get that sweater? It's like perfect for fall. And she's like, oh my gosh, thank you. I got it from Torrid. And that's a way that I can start a conversation with her now.
Well, and another thing that we've been we've seen in trainings is CCQ, comment, question, right? CCQ. Like
comment, compliment, compliment.
It's early, I know. But anyways, what you could do, like when somebody follows you is, or I don't know, whoever your page you're on, you can like a few of their posts, comment on a few, and then they really recommend going into their DMs and messaging them saying, hey, I love that orange sweater, that yellow sweater. Do you mind if I ask where you got it? and then they message back, and then you're having that conversation in the message thread. And then you've been in their DMs, and now you're engaging with them, and now your stuff's going to pop up to the front of their stories. They're going to start watching you, and you didn't ask them anything yet for anything. And so maybe the next time you throw an invite out, they're going to be like, oh yeah, the last thing that was in my messages wasn't another invite. Like, that happens.
Oh yeah. So a call to action is essentially telling your followers what to do at the end of your post. So do you want them to visit the link in your bio to get the recipe? That's a habit that people can get like more familiar with clicking that link in your bio. Some people who are new to Instagram don't know what that link is, and they're like, what is that? I don't know what that is. So if you share in your posts like, oh, go click the link in my bio for a free recipe or a YouTube video or a tutorial or something like that, then when you throw out a call to action like link in my bio for my fall fit fam to join my fit fam, you know, so then it's not like you can always direct them to where you want them to go, and you just have to tell them right out in front. If you want them to comment below for the recipe, if you're sharing a recipe, you know, comment below with a heart, and I'll send you the recipe in a message. Or if you want to join my boot camp, comment below or message me. A call to action is just essentially telling your follower what you want them to do to get a hold of you. So yeah, does anybody, and maybe we can do a quick tutorial on like how to do the link tree. Essentially, you'll want to set up a little link tree or some kind of something in your bio that has a place for you to upload links to it. Some people do like their Amazon finds. They'll link their recent outfit in their bio, you know, things like that. So we'll show you guys how to do the link tree in another little. I don't know how we're gonna do it. We'll show you. There's not enough time. But you can include, like say, you can include recipes, tutorials, and like a Google form in that link tree, and you can have people go there and fill out the Google form to apply for your boot camp, things like that. Go ahead.
Click the poll, yes or no.
That works too.
Which would be helpful. Just kidding. But when we send out the email, we'll talk to you girls about like maybe doing like a tutorial about. Yeah. Maybe next week we'll set one up if that would be helpful, like while we're on the call. I don't know. Our people will talk to your people.
That's the end of our slideshow. Do you guys have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. Oh, we got comments in the chat. Grandpa time.
We love grandpa time.
We struggled with how to find info on stories too. Nicole, do you want to unmute yourself and ask that question?
Yeah. So on the stories, so like this week I posted one for a recipe, but I couldn't see like who wanted the recipe.
I know, I didn't get it.
Yeah. I don't know what I did wrong. I couldn't see.
I've been wanting a lot of recipes, Nicole. You haven't come through.
I couldn't see who wanted it.
I don't know. If you post a poll in your stories, when you go back and watch your stories, if you swipe up, it'll show you who's watching your stories, and it'll also show you who engaged with your poll and said yes or no.
So you have to go back to your poll when you're like, you have to go watch your own stories, and because you know how to check who's following your stories, right?
Yeah, I can see that. So I can see who's seen the post, but I couldn't figure out who has engaged with the post.
Like, I just swiped up on my poll.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that very well.
I can see it.
And then it shows me who said yes.
Okay.
And then you can either take a screenshot of that. Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
You can take a screenshot of that, and then you can like make sure you get into their Instagram messages and then shoot them. There's a little arrow when you swipe up and you can see the poll. There's a little, oh, that's really bright. No, not working.
No, not working.
There's a little arrow, a message arrow next to the person who voted. And so if you click on it, you can immediately respond to their question.
Okay.
But I found that you can't drop like a screenshot from those messages. You have to actually go to their Instagram, go into their messages, and send the recipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good question though. And that's the same with the comment or drop your comment in the box or drop your question in the box. If you swipe up and you can, it'll show you like, you can just scroll and see all the people's comments.
Also,
so then you just take a screenshot and then go back to their profile and then like send them the image of the recipe, because I was like, this, okay. And I'm like, I'm not typing this out 8 times.
You can Google it. No, so another thing is if you guys like your day got away from you and you're like, oh no, my story expired. I didn't check who voted in those polls. There's a way if you go to your profile, gosh darn, wish you could see this. If you go to view your profile page and you're looking at your posts and stuff, as if this is how like, oh no, someone else can see it. The hamburger menu up in the top right hand corner, which is like the 3 bars. The 3 bars. If you click on that, there's a button that says archive. I always want to say archive. Archive. If you click on that archive setting, you can check all your old stories.
Son of a gun.
Son of a gun. And then if you had a poll that you forgot to check the answers in, you can click on that old story and do the same thing. I'm trying to find one. But you click on that story and swipe up and it'll show you all the people who voted in that poll. So even from like 2 weeks ago, if you've promised a recipe, I want it. Nicole, go back and send it to me.
Do you have to actually archive it though?
What's that?
Do you have to actually archive it, or does it automatically archive it?
It should do it automatically.
Okay.
Yeah.
If not, you can.
We just pulled up Kevin's, and we didn't know there was like a bunch on there that we didn't know that archived.
Yeah. And I think it automatically does it unless you go to the settings and like specifically ask them not to archive your stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it should be in there though. So if it's not, let us know and we'll figure out how to get them. But I just learned that like 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to go back to all my old polls and figure out. I don't have. Okay, so Amber says no. Oh, okay. So go to your settings, and Amber's in her settings right now, or she went to her archive. Go to archive, and mine says no archived posts. I don't have any. So in the top right, the 3 little dots, you click that, and then you click settings, and then the first option says save to archive, and you want to click that on. So turn that setting on as soon as possible. That way it starts saving your posts and your stories, and then you can always refer back. I wonder if it'll like just start from today, huh? Probably. Oops. Good question, Nicole.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. I know. Learn something new every day. Oh, I just learned something new too. If you click on, like, so you're in the archive spot, and then you click on it at the top, click on the archive, there's a little drop down arrow. It says posts or stories, and you want to click stories. It'll show you. So I didn't have any posted archives, but I got lots of story archives. There we go. It'll fill them all in. That's good. Let's see. That's good. What other little, okay. we're running out of time. That was a great question though, Nicole. Okay, so we'll send a little tutorial. There's so much to learn on Instagram that we've just been learning over time. So we'll do our best to continue sharing with you guys some of these Instagram hacks. But I think that's all the time we have today. Thank you everyone for hopping on. I know it's early. We appreciate you. You guys are awesome. And then we will be sending you the recording of
let's
this
do
as
a
well.
boomerang real quick.
Let's do this. Hold on. Let me stop sharing. That's fine. We can see him. So. Okay. There we go.
Okay, on the count. Oh, hi, Katie. Okay, on the count of 3, we'll wave or something.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, guys, have a wonderful day. Bye.